is that shadow government officials are they working behind the scenes to continue to damage the Trump administration? We'll examine tonight's evidence. A cardinal rule of the Obama administration was that no White House official ever interfered with any independent investigation led by the Department of Justice. As part of that practice, neither President Obama nor any White House official ever ordered, keyword, ordered surveillance on any U.S. citizen. Any suggestion otherwise is simply false. Now, the statement never said that President Obama didn't know about it, like the New York Times told us, just that he didn't order it. So is anyone in the press ever going to ask if Obama knew about the surveillance of an opposition party during an election year? Or will they just give him another pass? Here with reaction, editor-in-chief of LifeZette, Fox News contributor, nationally syndicated radio host. And she's got more titles than any guest we ever had, and best-selling author. And what are you throwing up in the air? My football?
Oh, just my phone. I just want to blow it up now and not even look at the phone.
Oh, my phone's been blowing up all day too.
Yeah.
I can only imagine. All right, this is really important. They reported on it. So all Donald Trump has to say is, well, I was just quoting you guys. You guys supposedly tell the truth. Who would ever doubt the New York Times? It becomes amusing. When are they ever going to say, ooh, maybe we were wrong, and apologize and retract?
Yeah, it's no doubt that January report, Sean, in the New York Times showed that the intelligence agencies had been monitoring former associates, advisors of Donald Trump. Applied for a FISA warrant, once was rejected, got a FISA warrant a second go-round. It looks like everyone from Roger Stone to Carter Page and Paul Manafort and who knows how many other people were monitored. Now, I guess they're quibbling with the wording of Donald Trump's tweet. Okay, I'll concede that. Maybe the exact wording, maybe Obama didn't definitively order it, but maybe the president knew about it.
Well, the New York Times, if you look at that statement, it says they did know about it.
Yeah, well, definitely the administration did. I'm just saying specifically ordering it. I mean, that's what they're hanging this all on, and they did it at the White House briefing today. They went round and round and round with Sean Spicer about this. I think to little or no effect. What you see happening now in Washington is that Donald Trump's moving forward on his key agenda items, and there's a lot of disagreement on those agenda items, even among Republicans, as we're seeing with the Obamacare fight. But he's moving forward. He needs to keep doing that. And this Russia bombshell with WikiLeaks today, if that's verified, it looks like if it's verified, the intelligence agencies.
What do you make of it?
Well,
it's pretty damning.
I think it's really damning if it's true, because part of what was revealed is that our intelligence agencies are using countries like Russia as scapegoats when it's really them.
That
going
to me was
into...
that was the most revealing thing to me. Great minds think alike here. Now, and we need to set this foundation. WikiLeaks has not been wrong in over 10 years. Not one time have they been proven wrong in terms of what they have released. You're right. If they were using specific deceptive techniques to make it look like the Russians, then that opens up the question, did in fact they try and pin all of this Russian conspiracy stuff that the media has fallen hook, line, and sinker for without any evidence? Did they do it internally? The same people that are leaking on Trump?
You know what's odd, Sean, is when the Democrats refused to release, the DNC refused to release their computers or their server for
FBI.
For forensic analysis. I thought that was very odd. I mean, if you're worried about hacking, and you even can think it would be related back somehow to the Republican nominee, wouldn't you want to reveal that? I mean, wouldn't you want to find whatever you can find? So that, at the time, that struck me as odd. I know the president himself has referenced this several times. That was a red flag for me back then.
And they brought in outsiders to do it instead of the FBI?
Yeah, a third-party contractor. Why was that? Why was that done? So a lot of questions.
Am I wrong in thinking this runs much deeper and probably is connected to the leaks, or am I jumping out too far?
I don't think the White House communications team has to worry about the phones being looked at. You know, the team, like the assistant secretary, press secretaries, like leaking. No. If anyone's leaking here, it looks like from what we're seeing in WikiLeaks and some of these reports in the media, it's probably someone from the intelligence agencies and likely, very sadly, the CIA.
If all this turns out to be true, this could be a scandal much bigger than Watergate, couldn't it?
Exactly. Well, it could be, Sean, and that's why there are a lot of former elected officials were very concerned about allowing our intelligence agencies to get so big, so powerful, and when they get so big and powerful, they run so deep, and everyone calls it deep state. How are they accountable? Are they accountable to anybody?
This WikiLeaks revelation today, coupled with an interview I did with this guy, Binney, who was a 32-year NSA veteran who is a whistleblower, retired, he says every phone conversation, every text, every email of every American is locked up in metadata.
I saw that.
Scary.
Go back to in-person communication, Sean.
That's police state tactics. That would be frightening. All right. Good to see you, Laura, as always.
Great to see
you. Up next, Monica Crowley makes a return. All right, welcome back to Hannity. She is back, our good friend of the program, our conservative commentator and author, writer, Monica Crowley. Welcome back. How are you?
Hi, Sean. Okay.
All right. Let me start because you obviously, people may not know that you were the sister-in-law of our dear friend Alan Colmes, and my heart goes out to you and your sister. How's she doing?
Thank you. She's okay.
How are you doing?
She's coping with it. Thank you for asking. Alan was such a gentleman, as everybody in this audience knows.
Absolutely.
And he was the kindest, most decent man you will ever meet. He treated everybody with the same respect and kindness, whether you were the President of the United States or the man on the street. He was my friend, and I certainly
miss him. He was my friend, even though I disagreed with everything he said. But and I was really angry at a couple outlets. We'll deal with that more in the future. So you were going to go to the administration. You got viciously attacked. And by the way, you're not the only one. It's Bannon, it's Reince, it's Kellyanne, it's Steve Miller, it's even Melania. And they're going after Jared, and they go after Ivanka. They even went after a 10-year-old kid. It's pretty ugly. Now they're going after Sebastian Gorka, which is ridiculous. But it seems that anyone around the president's getting attacked. And I wanted to give you a chance, because you hadn't been out there publicly for personal and other reasons, to respond to this.
Well, look, what happened to me was a despicable, straight-up political hit job, okay? It's been debunked. My editor has completely supported me and backed me up. There is a very toxic, and it's getting increasingly toxic and poisonous atmosphere of personal destruction in Washington and the media. It's always sort of been there, but now it's at a whole different level. And this is exactly why smart and good people do not want to go into government service. I will tell you that nothing and nobody is ever going to stop me from speaking out on the issues I care about the future of this nation. There's also a really bigger point here, which is a lesson that I learned.
Look what they did to General Flynn.
Well, and this is the bigger point. In some ways, I was something of the canary in the coal mine. The attack on me was a test. What happened to me, what happened to General Flynn, what has happened to Attorney General Sessions and others is all of a piece. There is a very dangerous and very effective destabilization campaign underway against this president, his administration, and his agenda. And what I hope that the president and his senior aides understand is that these forces are not just looking to delegitimize him. We often talk about that. Sure, they want to do that. They want to personally destroy him, destroy his presidency, and they would like to see the man in prison. I hope that the president understands. I am not overstating this, having been a victim of this myself. They are out for blood. And the reason they have to destroy him is that Donald Trump is an alien organism that has been injected into the body politic by the American people to reform it. He must not be allowed to succeed. They have swarmed him. They have swarmed everybody around him in order to reject him out of the system, just like any alien organism. He must not be allowed to succeed. And I hope that everybody around him now understands that this is a war and that they started a long time ago. But they will not end until they get the President of the United States.
I totally agree with you. By the way, I want to say one thing. We have a mutual friend, Andy McCarthy. I don't think you should answer any of these people's questions because they can go straight to hell. That's you know how I deal with stuff. I don't care what anybody says. And I thought he did a great job in debunking the issue for you. And here's what's important, though, what you're saying. Very important, I think. I see 5 different factions going after the president, okay? And each one, you've got the snowflake faction, all these protesters that are being paid in many cases to create an image that there's chaos in the country. Then you've got a Democratic Party obstructionists want no part of this president succeeding because they look bad and are out of power for a long time. Then you've got a media establishment, which we know through WikiLeaks, colluded in this last campaign. They never vetted Obama. They never told the truth about what a failure Obama's been. That's a big part of it. Then you got Republicans that are weak and timid. And then the fifth part of it is an intelligence community that is so clearly and obviously, people within it. I have great respect for people in intelligence. But there are those in that community, the swamp, the shadow government that I talk about, the state, if you will, the deep state that we talk about. They're out for blood. And this is 5 significant, powerful establishment forces that are lined up against this president. This is not a game. They want to destroy him, delegitimize him, and get him out if they can.
They want him in prison, and this is what we need to understand.
So true.
David Brock and some of these organizations have already raised tens of millions of dollars for an impeachment process. Then they want jail to the chief. They need to understand that this is a war. We are so far beyond normal politics, Sean. We are in a very dangerous moment. And while President Trump is a very strong leader and a man of strong constitution, he was able to survive all of this during the campaign and get elected president. When you're president and you are faced with the kind of monolithic opposition you were talking about, plus a federal bureaucracy that is completely out to undermine him every day, the intelligence community that is engaged in some of this as well that we have heard, I hope to God that he is strong enough to withstand this. They are out to destroy him because if he succeeds, the country changes for the good, and they must not allow that to happen.
Wow, what a strong, powerful admonition. We missed you. Was so sorry about Alan. My best to you and your family.
You
know
so
how
much,
I feel
Sean.
about all of you. All right, on a busy news night. What's up next on Hannity? This
is really bad. Just for the record, we're all really nervous. So if people out there feel nervous, we do too.
Joe, give Mika a hug. You got the alt-left propaganda. The alt-left propaganda destroy Trump at all costs media. They're working overtime to take down the Trump administration. Listen to MSNBC's Mika Brzezinski. She seemed to be fighting back tears yesterday. She was so upset talking about President Trump. Watch this.
We're at a low point in American history, and I don't know how anybody can defend this president, even if it's their job. Like, you've got to have a job after this. You've got to look in the mirror after this. This is not funny. This is really bad. Just for the record, we're all really nervous. So if people out there feel nervous, we do too. We don't think this is funny.
Really? A little maybe overwrought there. And CNN's Anderson Cooper, he says he's muted President Trump on Twitter. Let's look at more of the liberal media.
And I've actually muted the president on Twitter. Don't tell him.
What?
I've muted him.
You can do that?
Yeah, you know, when you get annoying people tweeting you, you don't want to delete because then that tells them you've deleted them.
Oh.
So if you just mute them, they think you're still following them, and you don't actually see their tweets. I just don't want to have that drama in my life. It's like,
again,
it's like having a
president of that drama.
It's like having
you have to accept that he's president.
It's like having
you have to accept that he's president.
No, of course I do. I have great respect for the president.
Doesn't seem like it.
I just don't need to follow him on Twitter.
There's your fair, your balanced, unbiased journalist. Maybe they should stop pretending now and be who they are. Radical, lazy, leftist, activists on TV. Joining us now with reaction, Salem nationally syndicated radio talk show host Larry Elder, who's laughing, and former White House press secretary Ari Fleischer. All right, Ari, is that fair and balanced, or are they are they any different? Is that fair and balanced? I just want poor Mika. Somebody get her either a stiff drink or a padded room. Help her out.
Well, let me just say I'm not nervous. But look, Sean, as a press secretary, former press secretary, my job was to deal with all reporters, and I do, and I continue to enjoy doing that. But let me also add, Republicans always have to work twice as hard as Democrats to get a fair break in the press, and Donald Trump has to work 3 times as hard. And no, it's not fair and balanced. You know, you have to be a professional in this business, and I don't like the idea of professional journalists, neutral journalists, saying they're muting a president, a news source. And Mika's an opinion journalist, so she's in a bit of a different category. But people know, should not be nervous. I've said this repeatedly, and I say it when I do her show. Let it play out. Let's see what Donald Trump can do.
Well, I didn't see
Today
that
is
she
the
was
perfect
nervous
illustration.
when a guy palled around when an unrepentant terrorist became president. I don't remember going deep into that story like I did. Then President Obama was only asked one time during the campaign. Larry, I know you're laughing. There's a part, some of this is funny, I'm going to admit. But on another level, it's really, they do want to destroy Trump. They want to destroy the president. They're trying to delegitimize him, and they want to stop his agenda. And at most, if they're lucky, they want him out of office.
Oh, the inhumanity. The good news for Mika is that under the Obamacare replacement plan, whatever's bothering her is probably covered. I really think what's going on here...
She'll be all right.
I really think what's going on here is a deep-seated fear that this SOB might actually be successful. God forbid we get a 4% GDP growth, as was the case with Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan, when he ran for re-election, took 49 states. What did he do? Cut taxes, continue deregulation, and slow down the rate of non-defense government spending, all of which Donald Trump is doing. You put that together, we get a 4% GDP. None of this stuff will matter. Nobody will care about what Mika Brzezinski said, or Don Lemon, or Katie Tur, or any of the other people that are really, frankly, quite hysterical over this presidency.
You know, but the bottom line, though, Ari, is I've said journalism is dead. You know, look at, for example, the New York Times. The New York Times reported that the president was wiretapped. They did it multiple times, as did the BBC, as did McClatchy, as did other major sources, mainstream media news. The president acknowledges what they reported, and somehow he's to blame. When are they ever going to have some introspection, some self-examination as it relates to colluding with Hillary Clinton? And if they're going to blame Trump for reporting and talking about what they report, when are they going to take the same blame on themselves? It's kind of hypocritical, isn't it?
It will never happen, Sean. And you know, look, I'm in a little bit of a different position on this in terms of my viewpoint. I don't think they're dead, but I think they've severely wounded themselves. And the American people agree with that. And that's what the Gallup poll that came out last fall showed.
You agree they colluded with Hillary? Would you agree they didn't vet Obama?
And questions shared, you had questions of them sharing questions for a debate. That happened on CNN in one instance. And that never should have happened. And so the point is the press is not neutral. The press is biased. I've dealt with that for the decades that I was in Washington, from Capitol Hill all the way through the White House. It's far worse with Donald Trump. And that's the era we're in now. But look at the day like today. Today is what the Trump presidency is and should be about: repealing and replacing Obamacare. Larry's right. These are the big issues upon which Donald Trump's presidency is going to rise or fall. And today has been a very good day for Donald Trump.
I think that's good, with one caveat. He's got a lot of conservative opposition. I think they should have built the consensus plan before they released it. That's my own personal view. Secretary Price was very clear that it's going to happen in 3 phases, and that all of the critics will be included in the end. Larry, I say that if Donald Trump checks off that promise list and gets it done, he walks into re-election in spite of all the noise that you hear everywhere.
I agree with that 100%. And it's one thing for the media to be biased. We already knew that. It's another thing for the media to collude. And because of WikiLeaks, we found out the New York Times, the Washington Post, staffers for Jake Tapper at CNN, staffers for Wolf Blitzer, Dana Milbank, the columnist with the Washington Post, contacting the DNC, getting ideas, getting suggestions. This is collusion. This is far beyond just simply having a sympathetic and political agreement with the left. These are people who are literally trying to get Republicans defeated. I've never seen the like of it, and one of the things that Donald Trump has done that no other president has done is call them on it, put them on notice, and let people know that they are not just biased, that they are actively trying to stop Republicans. And no one's done that before, and I salute Mr. Trump for having done that.
All right, guys, great segment. Thank you both for being with us. Always appreciate you being on.